you're live.
Yay. Guys, I am so sorry. YouTube decided to change up everything, and I could not find where we were supposed to be at. Oh no.
What now?
Are you I don't know. I don't understand. Okay. I'm trying to find our video. I can't find it.
Well, it is up because I have the chat already.
Oh, there it is. There it is. There it is. Okay. I'm trying to find our video. There we go. Awesome. Okay, pop out. Okay. That was a mess. I'm so sorry, guys. That literally took me like 15 minutes to figure out.
So YouTube is going to look completely normal for you guys, but it looks completely different for us on our side.
Yeah.
For the creator side.
For us mere mortals, it just looks normal.
Yeah.
They've decided to completely change everything up. I am in a new setting, obviously. We're visiting our in-laws my in-laws in Virginia, so. All right. Do you want to go first, Hannah?
So, if you have not read this, what if it does? Leave now because you will get spoiled.
Yes.
But I rated this one a 4 out of 5 stars.
Okay.
What'd you rate it?
A 5 out of 5 stars.
You're like such a sucker when it comes to contemporaries. If you like them, you love them.
Yes, there's no in between. It's either bad or it's like so good.
I wore this today because I thought it was very appropriate with this book.
Oh my god, yes.
Yeah, they talk a lot about Hogwarts in this book.
Nice.
A lot of Harry Potter references in this book.
A lot of Harry Potter references.
As there should be.
So Haley gave it a 3.5 stars.
Okay.
I want to know why it's so low. But you have to like give reference if you normally are a contemporary lover or fantasy or what.
It's hot.
Fantasy for life.
She's wearing Gryffindor socks. You know what? I am too, actually.
So I loved the Harry Potter references, but I will say that part I think is going to date it. That was one of my biggest gripes with the book.
What do you mean it's going to date it?
Like the pop culture references, if you put them in your book, they tend to date it so that they don't wear as long, if that makes sense. So the book doesn't stay as relevant. I'm at the ceiling now.
I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. I had to get something to put my computer on. Guys, I'm having the worst issues right now. I am so sorry. Okay, there we go. I think we're good.
Rip, anybody tried to wear headphones and just had to listen to my very loud laugh at Gabby. I'm sorry.
Okay, let's bring this down some. Jeez Louise. Life is hard right now.
So
okay.
I think that like if you put contemporary or not contemporary, if you put pop culture references in books, it will date it because if it's not as popular 10 years from now, people won't be as in the know about it. Now, I don't think Harry Potter is going to lose its stuff
I was just going to say.
But it's like same with like putting song lyrics in it or like referencing a song is those go in and out of style so fast that if
like
you
Hamilton.
it'll date it so fast. Yeah. So I will just say like because I loved that we had those pop culture references, but I don't think they will hold up well, and that's why I docked it a little bit.
Interesting. Yeah, the Hamilton I definitely agree with. I think she'll be safe with the Harry Potter references because I mean when did Harry Potter was done 10 years ago? Like the series was complete about 10 years ago. A little bit less than that probably. Oh, no. Yeah. The last book came out in like 2017, 2018. And I mean, it's still like huge. So I think she was safe with the Harry Potter, but I definitely agree with like all of the Hamilton. That's already, even though it's still like #1 on Broadway, it may, date it.
I agree with that, and I think we definitely still get kids coming into the bookstore asking for Harry Potter, but
Oh, yeah.
I've talked with a lot of parents who said my kids just aren't into the Harry Potter thing, like a lot more than they used to be. So I think it is going out.
No, that's just poor parenting.
I don't know if you guys can hear Trevor. Yeah.
Kevin's laughing.
But I think it could be dated because of it. But
Yeah.
like I said, I really enjoy those aspects of it, but I don't think that it's gonna hold up as well because they did that.
Okay, fair enough.
Was there anything you disliked about it?
So I mentioned this in my vlog, which is not up yet, so that besides the point. But I mentioned how it's a little bit insta-lovey, but I knew that going in. Like you knew it from the synopsis that it's like it's a summer romance, So I already knew it was going to be very insta-love, so I kind of just let myself
Accept it.
Yeah, and it would be like a big deal because like it moved so quickly.
Can you just it was over a span of a month.
Yeah, I know.
Holy shit, are you joking?
I know. I think it would have been smarter if it maybe had been a span over like 3 months, like maybe at the very, very beginning of summer, like May, all the way up until like August, because kids get out of school end of May, typically go back in August. I feel like if they had spanned it out that long, it would have been a little bit more plausible because it's true, like, summer love and the Notebook and, like it's not an uncommon theme that you see.
Yeah.
Like Grease.
Yeah. So Haley said, I just found the
Kevin singing Summer Love.
Haley said that she found the first half was really boring.
Oh, I disagree. I was hooked within like 7 minutes in the book. Like Arthur's character is so funny, and I love how his thoughts are all over the place, and I love his personality, and I love how funny he is and how insecure and unsure he is, but just I thought he's hilarious.
So I think I might like the first half better than the second half.
Yeah, for sure.
Because the second half, that's where you felt the first half you really get to introduce with the insta love, but the second half you really get to see the insta love play out, and it kind of rubbed me the wrong way that I was like I'm glad that they kind of poke fun at it because they're like talking about how they all move fast, like with Dylan moving so fast, and like the fact that like the older girls were like, you've been with him for 2 weeks and you're already meeting his parents, and it's like so fast with everything, and it was a little bit cringy.
Yeah.
For me. And I liked that we got to see like the do-over first dates and things like that. Like I like
so
that
cute.
part.
I loved that. I thought it was hilarious. I loved it. It was great. I didn't like the ending.
I have mixed feelings about the ending.
Yeah, me too.
I like that it's different. It's not like everything is wrapped up with a bow. I like that it's a little ambiguous. But it was not as satisfying as wrapped up with a bow. So
agreed. Like it was very much realistic because let's face it, like most kids break up when they go to college, most of them, like there are the few that do make it. But then there are, usually they don't. So I don't know. I found it, like you said, it's realistic, but if you're writing it into a book, it was a little unsatisfying. Like I was really hoping that like they would be in college together or something, like I don't know. I was really hoping there'd be like an epilogue of like them in college.
Like an epilogue of the epilogue?
Yes, yeah, of like them actually, because like he got into community college, didn't he? No, he got into NYU.
He
got into NYU, I think.
Yeah.
So he obviously got into college, he's smart. Um, so I don't know, I thought it would have been they downplayed how serious they were for each other.
But in a way, it's also I could argue that it's not though, because at the end they talk about like even though they're separated and even though they're like trying to move on and they've like been interested in other people, they keep coming back to one another. So it makes it feel a little more real that they're like keep finding their way back to rekindling that connection.
It's weird that like they're such good friends, but they dated because they weren't friends for. I mean, I think it's sweet, but it's usually you don't see that. Like people who date and then become best friends, typically it's like best friends who end up dating and then
Yeah.
staying friends again if it doesn't work out. It's an interesting perspective.
But they kind of like left it open at the end of them like still having feelings for each other.
Yeah, which is why I kind of wish we had another epilogue because like you said, it feels a little bit unresolved. I
Maybe
want
they'll be
more.
open for another one.
I want more. I love their story so much. I love these characters so much.
So Haley actually said that she liked the ending. She actually liked the ending. And so she's like polar opposite of what you're feeling.
Yeah.
And I can flip back and forth. I can see it. But I want to like just one of my other pet peeves that I docked it for was they did not feel like high schoolers. Their voices did not feel like high schoolers to me.
I know, which is kind of why I wish maybe they had changed the setting to like maybe they're in college and they were doing
Or like
summer.
senior year of like after senior year, and they wouldn't be able to work in with summer school. But that would feel more the right age range.
That's not. Oh, yeah, you're right.
Because they were juniors going into their senior year.
But I think you can be can you be a senior in summer school and graduate late? Yeah, Kevin says yes.
So maybe still could have worked. I just had a hard time feeling like the insta love matched with the high school aspect because that's just what high schoolers do.
Yeah.
But what they were doing, what they were, all of it felt older. Their voices felt older to me.
They're like 16 years old.
Right? And that's just like, oh, I like turned into like a mom for a minute while I was reading this book, and like they were talking about sex, and then like a few moments later they broke up, and I was like, this is why high schoolers should not have sex. They're not prepared for this emotional trauma that you're going to go through. Like, no. And I just was like, I definitely felt very old at that moment. I'm like, why is this happening?
Yeah.
And then they got back together, and I'm like, they don't know what that like. That was such a bad idea.
It's really interesting. You're right. It's very half-half because so I haven't read a lot of contemporaries, but are there a lot of contemporaries where they're set in high school and they do have sex?
No, it's a little bit more innocent because it's geared towards younger audiences. This is kind of an odd placement, I think, in contemporaries.
Okay.
Most of the time, it's more innocent.
Yeah.
And obviously, they like if it's a long series, at the end they'll have sex or something, but like not in the first book and not within like a few weeks of meeting each other.
Yeah, you're right. Except for there is one book that I'm thinking, oh, I don't know if it'd be a spoiler.
Who's the author?
Rainbow Rowell. You just re-listen to the audiobook.
I don't remember them having sex. They were in college. That totally doesn't count. They're in college.
But that's what I mean. Like, that's the only contemporary book that I know of in college where it, like, fits the timeline where it's, like, okay.
Yeah.
That's why I don't want to say the title because I wasn't sure if that's a spoiler.
Yeah. It could be any of the characters in that book, though.
That's true.
But that makes more sense because it's in college. I think the maturity between high school and college student is vastly different.
Not to mention the main character in that book is like 20. No, he's 21. Yeah. He's 21. Yeah. And the other main character is like 19 or something.
Huge maturity difference between 16 and 21.
Oh, for sure.
So
Yeah, I agree. I thought that was moving a little quick.
And Ben had already lost his virginity, and
I
he's
know.
so like what?
And they were
I
talking about, wasn't there like a scene where he talked about like he was getting high and like he drinks alcohol? And I'm
yeah.
like, you're 16 years old.
I mean, I definitely drank in high school. I'm not gonna pretend like I did not drink before I was 21. I'm not gonna play that. And if you guys if you lost your virginity before that, like in the age range that we were talking about, we are not like harping on you or saying that's bad. It just is not the best mental idea for your mental state, because it's like that shit is so not permanent that it's like, this is why kids should wait, is because you're just gonna get your heart hurt even worse, and
Yeah.
you're not able to handle the consequences if that would happen.
Yeah.
If something were to go wrong, granted that's not going to matter in this situation, but then you could still get sexually transmitted diseases in it and stuff.
For sure. Bonfires and drinking.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I grew up in the Midwest, so like, yeah, that's all there is. Kids do that.
I went to college at A&M, so we have bonfires.
Yeah.
Okay. I also I do like that the parents were more involved.
Yeah, we don't normally see that in contemporaries. Usually they're just like off in nowhere.
For sure. I also really enjoyed. See, and that's like another thing I kind of had wished that like, well, I'm glad that he posted his story. I thought that was a really good end.
Character growth.
Yeah, for sure. And then I'm trying to think of like things that I really, really liked. I really liked, oh shoot, what's his friend's name?
Dylan.
Is it Dylan?
Dylan
Yeah,
or Ethan.
Dylan and then Samantha. I think they were fantastic.
So I really liked Dylan with Samantha. However, I did not. I shared this in my blog that's gonna go up Monday, but I was flipping back and forth between whether I liked Dylan or not. And at one point in my blog, I was like, I don't like him. Like, I don't like how he acts like around him. And then I completely changed my tune halfway through it, because I was like, I was actually thinking about it, like, because Dylan's so overly sexualized with Ben, and I was like, what is he? And he like pretended like he would turn gay and things like that. And I'm like, what is, like, that's not okay. Like, what is that about? But like, I like thought at my relationships with some of my friends and like Trevor's relationships with some of his friends, and it's like, we're very familiar, I should say, with people.
Oh yeah.
So it's like for instance, like one of Trevor's best friends from college like always jokes that me and Trevor are fighting over him, like of who's gonna get him type of thing.
That's so
like
funny.
So like he's over sexualized with Trevor, I guess, in a sense, but like it's an understanding between all of us. I don't know. So I get it. I changed my tune.
Yeah, no, we have a friend in our group who's very much like the goofball of the group, I guess you could say. And Dylan just reminded me so much of him.
I didn't like how much he was quick to turn over girls, and how much he was quick to like my future wife comment type of thing. Like it like luckily worked out at the end and came full circle for him, but like I was like, that's a bit weird. Like,
yeah,
that.
Yeah, I see that way, but I also see it as like that's what like teenagers do.
I'm so glad I'm not a teenager anymore.
I will say though, I think Arthur's friends were so freaking annoying.
I did not like them either.
Yeah.
So Haley said one of her favorite scenes was when Ben was listening to Hamilton for the first time while Arthur was reading Ben's novel. That was so cute.
So cute.
And I have a confession that I've never listened to any Hamilton music.
I haven't either.
So I was like feeling very like out of the loop with all of the Hamilton.
But I've read Harry Potter.
Yeah, I'm like, I know of the phenomenon that it is, but I like, yeah. I'm not in the fandom, so I don't get it.
I loved the scene where like Arthur was like, well, you know, what if we stay together while we go off to school, but I'll be worried that you're so much hotter than me and you're gonna go find another guy and you're gonna cheat on me. And he's like, you realize that I basically write Harry Potter fan fiction and Sims 99% of my time. And I'm like, I love that.
And isn't it funny that, like, he was worried about that, yet he was the one who was, like, out at parties and stuff, and Ben wasn't?
Yeah.
And during the epilogue.
Yeah.
So I wrote down some thoughts while I was reading.
Yeah, let's hear.
So when I just put plot hole, Ben said Harriet tagged him in pictures, but Arthur went through her tagged photos and couldn't find any. And I don't know if this is maybe just like a plot hole that they might have caught, because I have the arc from my work. So I don't know, maybe that was cleared up in the full book, but they had said like that Arthur went through trying to look through everything and couldn't find anything of pictures like tagged, but then it mentioned how Arthur or Ben was tagged in pictures, and I was like, if he was, that would have like cleared everything up, because he could have just found it through Instagram instead of having to post it on Craigslist.
I don't remember.
That was page 126.
Oh, I don't have my physical book.
The other one is, how is talking to people this easy? So, like, when Ben and Dylan went to that Yale meetup that Arthur was not at, but they like went to talk to them, like to talk to people and to like see if he was gonna be there. How they just like went up and straight talked to that guy that was in like the blazer and like started up a conversation with him, and I was like, what? Like, I have never been in a social situation where I would just be like, hello. Like, maybe that's an introvert versus an extrovert thing, but like he went up and started straight hitting on this guy, and I was like, what? These are high schoolers. How do they, one, have that much confidence in themselves? Because I've never known a high schooler to be truly confident with no insecurities. And to just be like, gonna straight up just chat up this guy. Especially being like not fully out and like he is, but like he's didn't ever have that like one-on-one experience with a guy. Like he never had a boyfriend. He never had those interactions. So like.
Now you're talking about Ben or Arthur?
Oh, Ben. So Ben had.
Yeah.
Because he was with Hudson.
Yeah.
But still.
Interesting. Okay.
Have you ever been in that type of situation where you see people just like go straight up to them and be like, so, and start like chatting them up in high school?
Well, it was technically a college meetup, so they had to play the part.
So?
I mean, I guess. I mean, I went to a school with like 60,000 students. So
holy shit.
Yeah, so people like are very friendly. And so I guess I didn't think too much of that because I have been in situations where you kind of just like have to start talking to people.
Oh my god, not I. You know what my graduating class was? 113 people. My
graduating class. Girl, that's how many I had in like a small class.
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah. So
welcome to the Midwest.
How many students?
High school. You're talking about college.
No, I'm talking about college, Hannah.
No, I'm talking about high school.
Oh, okay. No. Well, I had like 700 people in my graduating high school class, but like I went to college with like my campus housed like 75,000 students or something like that.
Yeah.
So, something like that. So it's kind of like, I guess I didn't think too much of it with like college meetups and like initiating conversations with people.
Yeah, but that sets the setting. That doesn't set like them actually doing, because they're still 16, whatever, or regardless of the situation.
That's true.
But
Dylan did force him.
Yeah, but like I still would have never done that.
That's true.
I wouldn't do that now when I'm 26. Like, no.
Interesting. Okay. No, that's an interesting point. I read this book so fast, guys. I literally read it in like 24 hours. So I didn't take a lot of notes because I powered through.
So that was another part that I didn't feel like the matches didn't voice or match the voices, and that just like reaffirmed that it didn't match. And then like all of how fast they were going. I really liked that we got to see the parents show what a real relationship looks like, and even though it's not perfect, like some people just act like this. I know, I'm not talking to you.
Oh yeah, I really liked their family dynamics between the two.
And I like that they showed like maybe they can be both. Maybe they can be arguing and still like love each other and be gushy and stuff like that too. I like that we got to see the balance and the more realistic relationships there.
Yeah. I also absolutely loved all the different representation. I mean, I don't know if I haven't I know Simon versus the Homo sapiens agenda, they have a lot of representation, but they have like same-sex relationships. They've got, oh gosh, I'm forgetting. I told you I read this book so quickly. I'm forgetting. Jessie, she's African American, correct?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, and she's also heavier set, I believe.
Was she?
I think they mentioned that she's a little heavier in like a photo.
Oh, I think I missed that part of it.
Maybe. And then Ethan, and then I also liked Juliet. I forget what she classified herself as, but she had a girlfriend.
Yes. Yeah.
And then we also have like Puerto Rican, like, and then I don't know. I really liked the different representation.
Mm-hmm. And the diversity in it.
Yeah, and then we had some like, and then we have students who are like not so good in school, like Ben who's struggling taking summer school, and then you have Arthur who is more studious, and it's just I don't know. It just reminded me a lot of like kind of my high school, very diverse.
I really liked that as fluffy as this book was, how real they were able to work in bad situations. So I really liked that we got to see the train scene.
Oh God, I hated that scene.
But like it's so
in
important.
a good way.
Yeah, it's so important to put in there, and I love how each of them reacted because it felt very true to their characters.
Yes.
Can we also talk about the fact that this is written by two authors and it's so cohesive? Like I'm so amazed by that.
It's so good.
Usually you can kind of tell whose voice was who, but this was I could not. And I like with I've never read an Adam Silvera book, but I've read Becky Albertalli book, and I knew I liked her writing, but I've never read his, so I couldn't tell what his voice was. But all of it just fits so well that I was hoping that this would like tiptoe me into Adam Silvera to see if I'd like his voice, but I couldn't tell them apart.
I know.
Like it was done so well.
I'm curious as to okay, so this is what I love about Becky Albertalli, she wrote I liked how with Simon versus the Homo sapiens and then Leon the Offbeat, it's so different. She's so good at creating these characters, and like Simon versus the Homo sapiens agenda is a little bit more innocent, I guess, versus Leon the Offbeat has a little bit more vulgar, crude moments. Not that it's vulgar or crude, but like Leah's her sense of humor is a little bit more,
Darker.
Compared to like Simon's. And so I was like curious because there were some moments in this book where I was like, oh, that's a little like they dropped some cuss words, and there's there's some moments where I was like, interesting. I wonder like whose voice that is.
Yeah. I guess I've never thought about before, like maybe being more sexually promiscuous is more common in bigger cities, so maybe that's why it's not as it might be more acceptable in New York. Does that make sense? Because they were set in New York. However, Arthur's from Georgia, and he has never had sex before. But Ben has. And so I guess that makes sense, because I feel like the South would be a little more conservative.
Correct. Yeah.
So I wonder if that plays into it, of location of what is realistic.
That's an interesting point. Yeah. It's interesting. It's like Arthur had never even kissed anybody before.
See, and that's like, I'm glad that we got to see them almost and then renege on it, because I think like you needed to see that hesitation, especially because if he hasn't been with anybody, and then it's like you're 0 to 60. Like there's no stepping stones there, especially in a 2-week moment. Like, come on.
I think I would have loved to have seen, okay, so the summer span out longer, maybe after senior year or something, or it could still just be going into senior year, but like spread out maybe between like May and August, and they just like have a kiss and they just like expand the relationship a little bit. And then like I could see them maybe getting back together, like doing another book or doing like an epilogue or like part 1, part 2, where like part 2 they meet up again for another summer after their freshman year in college or something. And then they have more of a like
Real relation.
Yeah, I was passionate, I guess.
Yeah.
Relationship. I think that would have been really fun.
I would love to see a book where we got to see the second book of this, but also not them jumping into the relationship on the second book, like them wanting to give it another shot, but then them realizing like they've grown in so many years, so they have to get to know each other.
Yeah.
Things that they've missed, because they have missed something. I think if they would to jump back into a relationship at that point, it would be disingenuous, because it's like you've grown and changed as a person. Even if you've been keeping up with each other, you still have to like get to know each other again.
Yeah.
As like a significant other versus a friend.
Yeah. It was just, yeah, now that like we're dissecting the book a little bit more, I think you're right. There were a little bit of like moments where it was a little incohesive. Like there were moments where Arthur was so mature, and then there were moments where he's like, they're literally on like a second date. And he's like, you have 68 photos of you and your ex-boyfriend on Instagram. And if that were me, I would have been like, stalker much?
Seriously. So this was one of the things that I wanted to talk about too, is what do you think about how he reacted to Hudson? In any of the sense, either one. So either at the school or like on the followers, like any part of that.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand why he's like, obviously you're going to be like somewhat a little bit jealous. Like, obviously you're like interested in somebody who just, who obviously was interested in somebody before you. So I can understand how he's jealous, and he feels like, he's jealous.
Yeah.
He worries he's not going to
live up to Hudson. But I also feel like it's just, I think he way overreacted to the point where I'd be like, that's crazy. Why it's Yeah.
I mean, I guess I agree Ben should have told him, but who cares? Like, who cares if your ex-boyfriend's in your summer school class? That's not something he didn't ask to be there.
Yeah. So I think like that's very inconsistent with the age thing. The age thing really gets to me, is that it's trying to flip back and forth between what age they want them to be, because they're putting themselves in a very mature relationship and moving as mature adults would in that situation, but then they have these feelings as a 16-year-old. So correct. Maybe that's realistic that the kids go through that during that time. You know what I mean? Like maybe we can't see it, even though it's hindsight, of going through those types of things, of making mature decisions when you are not mature, but then being expected to react mature in that. It's hard to critique this book because it doesn't fully mash up for me.
And yeah, I agree.
I want to say like even if you are jealous, none of what happened was okay or in a healthy relationship, because there has to be trust there, and there clearly wasn't trust there. But again, if you're 16 years old, there isn't trust there. Like, you've got insecurities that play a big part on your emotions, and you do stupid shit like that. Like, so it's hard to be like, this is how it should have been, but then it's also, that wouldn't make sense for a 16-year-old. It's it goes back and forth. So maybe they did have some inconsistency with how they were writing, or maybe how they were told to publish the book. Maybe they wrote it as older and they said, you need to make your target demographic lower so it will sell. That maybe like they had to chop that afterwards and didn't quite match up when it was released. I don't know.
Interesting. Yeah, because I mean, like from personal experience, I could totally see myself as a 16-year-old being completely jealous. Like, why are you talking to that girl? Like, what were you doing? You know, like I could totally see myself. I'm pretty sure I probably was jealous, like a lot more jealous. But now at my age, like, I mean, granted, it's a different situation. I've been, you know, married for like 4 years, in a relationship for 9 or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's obviously different. I'm not going to be like, oh, wait, you work with girls? Like, I'm sorry, that's not okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not like, I'm very secure. But as a 16-year-old, like, I feel like the way Arthur reacted, I think it was not justified, but I think it was like very much what a teenager would react like. Because I could see myself doing that, you know, 15 years ago, and being like, what was I thinking? I reacted to that for no reason.
Yeah.
So,
I had a fun time reading this book, but I will say, like, the more I talk about it, the more the age thing really bothers me.
Yeah, I know. I think I still stand by my 5 though. Well, okay, I think I rated it like a 4.5 out of 5 stars, but I gave it a 5 on Goodreads.
Yeah.
I just think it was fun. Like, honestly, after I reread it, I went back and I reread again some of my favorite parts. So it was just, so to me, like, just I haven't read a book like that in so long, where I just flew through. And well, The Lady's Guide to Petticoats and Piracy, I read pretty quickly, but like this one, I seriously read in like 24 hours. I just read it so quickly, and I just really, really enjoyed it. And I thought there were so many great aspects of it that I was willing to overlook some of the little things that I didn't like as much.
Yeah. So, like, I agree. Like, I haven't, and I said this in my reading vlog too, I haven't read a book like this in a long time, where, like, you just feel, like, giddy, like, reading it.
Yes.
And it's, like, such a fun time. And it's, like, easy to transport yourself because they set the setting well. And very easy, relatable characters. The voices were pretty well established. I will say, once in the second half when they got together, it was hard to kind of distinguish between Arthur and Ben's voice, because I felt like it kind of mixed a little bit. But when they had their own separate chapters, I felt like they had very different voices. Agreed. So I don't know what happened at the end of the book, but for the most part, I think the voices were very distinguishable from each other. So I really liked that too. It's just a really good time, and I don't know, who would you recommend this book to?
Probably like anyone who wants like a really fun, quick contemporary. So like someone who's not a huge fan of contemporary, I think it's a good book to like start into. Like, it's not perfect, but it's reads quickly, and it makes you feel giddy, and it's sweet, and there's like heartwarming moments, and it's very like, I love the Harry Potter. I just can't get over all the Harry Potter references. So I think I think for someone who wants to read more contemporary, I think it would be a good one to kind of read.
Yeah. I feel like this is like bubblegum contemporary.
Yes.
Like, it's got a really nice flavor at the beginning. The flavor doesn't last very long, and it's not something that's going to stick with you like once you're done. Like it's not gonna be one that I'm gonna want to like. I'm gonna remember the characters that often. You know what I mean? However, when I read like Fangirl, I deeply relate to those characters.
Oh,
So
such a good book.
it's such like a different, and they deal with a little bit more grittier topics. So
Correct.
this is like a fun way with a little bit of grit in it, but hardly anything.
Yeah. And I mean they like cuz you're right, they do skim over some important like there's a scene where they talk about him being Puerto Rican and he's really light-skinned and he got really upset when Arthur said, "I forget you're Puerto Rican if it wasn't for your last name." And
Mhm.
Ben got really upset. Oh my God, Haley. Yes. Yes. But I thought maybe they would have like dived in a little bit more into diversity with um different like skin tone, like skin
Yeah.
color and ethnicity and stuff, but they like kind of just brushed the surface of it to like you were saying, it's like it's more of an innocent book.
Yeah.
Although
I
it's
did
not all
like,
that innocent.
yeah, I did like how they dealt with educating people on how to deal with race.
Hmm.
And I liked it that it was like, I want you to be better. I want you to be on that level, but I want you to understand what was wrong, type
Hmm.
of thing. And I liked that it wasn't something that was like, you are now shamed because you don't know better, but you should know better, and this is why. And it takes a lot of patience for the person of color to say that, and I
Hmm.
appreciate that we got to see that played out that way, that they were patient with someone who wasn't of understanding and set that expectation to be better, type of
Yeah,
thing.
for sure. For sure. I really liked that as well. So who would you recommend it to? That was a good question.
I so like
I feel like it's a tricky one.
I would recommend this to like Jenna Evans Welsh, or like Jenna Evans Welsh readers, or maybe Casey West readers who are in the contemporary game, but I don't know, like they're big contemporary names, but they're not like I've read them and they're not like fantastic
See,
in
I
my
actually don't even know those authors.
so Casey West writes really questionable. It really, I
Like
mean, I have seen a
Madison?
lot of people like love them, but I've not read the greatest ones from her.
Okay.
Um, but those are contemporary, those set high school, but they do kind of focus on older activities
Okay.
in those. So I think it would work there well there. Obviously, Becky Albertalli's books will fit right in with this. Um, Kids in high school who are old enough to handle the maturity levels of this, or so I would say like 17 to 18 range.
Yeah, I agree.
16, 17 to 18 range, I would recommend this book too, that are just looking for a fun summary read.
Hmm.
It gives me the vibes of if you've seen the movies Friends with Benefits with Justin Timberlake
Yes, I
and
love that movie. I love that
yeah,
movie.
it feels like, and maybe that's just because it's like summertime in New York, and so I'm getting those vibes just from the settings, but it feels very much like that there was like a fleeting romance, but the connection was still there later, and that type of thing.
Yeah, that's interesting. I like that. Yeah, I agree. I think 17. So, okay, what is considered young adult? Teenagers?
We just renamed our entire teen section young adult at Barnes Noble, so I literally get kids who come in looking for, or parents usually coming in looking for books that are on the cusp. If they are 12 to 13, I'm like, you're right on the cusp. It depends on the reading level of whether I recommend you a teen book or a kid's book.
Like middle
So,
grade?
yeah.
Because, like, okay, Twilight. This book gave me kind of giddy feels like Twilight, but Twilight is it's insta love, like this book, but it's very innocent. Like, they steal a kiss here or there, but they don't really touch, you
Yeah.
know? But it's all about like, it's very emotion driven. versus physical. And so I could see Twilight as being very, very teen. Like I don't think I would consider Twilight. I mean, it is young adult, but I could also see it being teen. Like I could feel comfortable letting like a 13-year-old read it, you know?
But you have to remember YA is now teen. It's one and the same. It's not young adult and then teen. So
versus like some books that are considered young adult that are characters are like 17, 18. I'm like, ooh. Is this young adult? And then now we have this new genre which is like new adult.
Yeah.
Which is college level.
Yeah. That is where the characters are placed in a college setting is new
So
adult.
they're like in their 20s now is considered new adult.
Yeah. And I find that everything with new adult revolves around the sexuality or sexual contents of the book. It doesn't even have to be that 20-year-old is a new adult. It's if it has mature content that it's put into new adult.
Interesting. Because like also, but I would think language and I would also think like violence as well should be in it.
That's
No.
I,
Once going back like Twilight, there's no cuss word, there's no cussing in Twilight. It's very innocent versus like this book, I'm pretty sure they say the F word a few times. Yeah.
But you also have to think when it was published. Like this was just published recently. Twilight was published 10 years ago.
That's true.
It's a lot more accepted to have those words, you know?
Yeah. Very true. I thought it was really funny how like the mom was like, Craigslist, you can't go on Craigslist. People get murdered on there.
I did like the aspect of like him putting up a bulletin board. I thought that was adorable.
Yeah, it's so freaking cute.
So my sister is nearly 13, and I don't think this would be a book for her. Yeah, I think it would be too much mature content, and it completely depends on what their parents allow, basically.
Yeah.
So I'll have I'll have parents who are looking for something for their kids, and I'll recommend them something, and they're like, "Oh, I don't want something that's going to have anything that's too serious of a topic," and they put that type of shelter on their kid. But it's like I kind of scoff at anybody who tries to filter too much from what their kids read, because you know that they are hearing way worse on the internet or from their peers. It's not going to be in books where they're going to learn their bad behaviors. So it's just like,
it's true.
Okay. Yeah. So like,
granted, I don't think I would want like a 10-year-old reading this book.
No, but I think like, I don't know. I think if or when I'm ever a parent, books are not going to be my concern, and I think it would be a good way to have a discussion with them about the topics in the books, versus then like being like, you cannot absolutely read this, and then them finding out way worse stuff and being that's where that's where their knowledge is going to be from, and I'm like, yeah. But like when I said like they don't want too serious of topics, I'll have parents come in dealing like they'll see like The Hate U Give and be like, I don't want them to deal with that type of serious, and I'm like, that's race. Like they should be learning about these things. Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, so it's just it depends on what parents choose to filter for their kids for what is appropriate.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. It's hard.
Yeah.
Because like some people don't like Harry Potter. Some people are like, no, like it's not. I'm just like, yeah, I guess there is some violence. I mean, it does get a little bit darker towards the end, but like the first one is there's no sex, no bad language in Harry Potter.
Well, without getting too much into controversy here, like my best friend his parents would never let him read Harry Potter because of his religious backgrounds and it's dealing with magic. And I get that with parents who like, I don't want them to see violence because they say they do have like they hit the troll on the head and like there is just and like we don't perceive it as violence, but like other people will consider any part of it violence. Like
That's true.
Yeah. So
That is true. I forgot about that.
Yeah, it's just like things that like do not like compare to what is out there. That is so innocent, but it depends on how much you want to filter. So
Yeah, that is true. And I forget, I've reread Harry Potter so many times that like I'm sure when I read it when I was 13, I thought completely different than what I read now.
Yep. Haley says I wasn't allowed to read Harry Potter until like 5th grade because that's witchcraft. Yep, I get that a lot.
Okay, fair enough.
So it really is just like I think that this falls in the middle ground for young adult books. I think it's on the innocent side besides them having sex because of like the feelings and the maturity level. However, they do have mature content because they do have sex. But I would say I've never read any Ellen Hopkins, but I would say it doesn't reach Ellen Hopkins level because we even label that in our like system at Barnes & Noble as tough stuff that kids deal with because it's gritty or like self-harm and things like that that are in those books.
What about like Sarah Dessen? I've read a few Sarah Dessen books and some of her books are dark.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's
I've read them like
yeah, there's one with like abusive relationship, teen pregnancy.
So Sarah Dessen is kind of I don't really have people ask for Sarah Dessen books anymore. I think
Yeah, it might have been like, I mean, this is when I was like,
yeah. In high school, it was like a big thing. Like I remember reading a few, but I don't remember anything about them. But I mean, we have them at work, but they aren't really ones to be requested. I don't know. That one is I would say that's like bubblegum as well, but not in the good feeling way. Like a little more gooier. But like it doesn't stay with you. Like the characters don't stay with you.
Would you reread another Adam Silvera, Beck Albertalli book?
Would I reread it or would I read another one?
I'll read another one, collaborated.
Yeah, I would read another one. I like the way that they were, besides the whole age thing, which could very well, we don't know if they intended it for that way, or maybe they intended it to be college kids and they are like, you need to target your audience different, so that's something that they had to change in the last moments of editing.
Yeah. Or, I mean, also, when you think about it, kids nowadays, that's what they do.
Yeah.
It's not uncommon to see 16 and 17-year-olds doing exactly what they did in this book. Exactly.
And maybe that's the thing too, is like we're trying to relate back to when we were that young and maybe things are that different now.
That's true. Like, that's very true, actually. Things that I guess, I don't know, they just mature more. But things that I did when I was like 15, 16 years old is nowhere what, like, you know.
This. Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. So.
But I did have friends lose their virginity in high school, so I mean.
Yeah. That's true. That is true. No, you're right. That is very true.
I don't know.
Also, I'm wondering, I mean, I never grew up in New York, but yeah, I was thinking like, would my parents let me be out in New York at 16 by myself, like at night?
Yeah, but that's your hometown.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. That's why I'm like, I don't know if they would, but now I'm thinking about it and I'm like, well, I don't know. I can't say that. That's like, that was another thing. I'm like, I liked that there was a curfew. I thought that was fun. Like Ben's parents were like, be home by 10:30.
Yes, and very realistic. I like that they add that in.
Yeah. So
I think it's funny that they all like stayed over. I don't know what parents
high schoolish.
Yeah. I don't know what parents would have left their 17-year-old on their birthday though, both of them. I thought that was a little what?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like both of them. Like I just thought that was weird.
But it set it up for good.
Yeah, I'll give you that. It's very opportunistic there. But
Yeah,
like
yeah. Yeah. I liked it a lot. What did we think of like Ethan? I don't think we like talked about Ethan at all, like really quick. Do we want to
Still like him.
super like he's going to be very unmemorable.
Yep. Yeah, I didn't like him.
Yeah. And like that's another thing that was like really interesting is like Arthur, he felt like Ethan was judging him,
Hmm.
but he's still like, "Oh, he's my best friend." Like he never called him out on it until like really later on.
Don't want to disrupt the status quo and
Fair enough. Yeah.
well, if there isn't anything else, we should start our Dream Thieves. Cool.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Well, I hope there is a second book. I think I would reread. I would read a sequel to their story.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
So stay tuned for the Dream Thieves, and we will be back in a little bit.
Yes, ma'am. Bye. Nope.